We're here with Steve Beveridge, the new CEO of JPS. Hi, Steve, and welcome to Jamaica. Steve, tell us about what you want to attain and do with your tenure of JPS.
Thank you. What I want to do here at JPS and in Jamaica is really make a difference. And I think about that in terms of creating a system that will help Jamaica thrive. First, we need to have a reliable system. The outages that we have now, the length, the duration of them is unacceptable. And we're going to make investments to make that change and be different, and I'm committed to that. That's thing one. And two, the price of electricity is high here too. And I know that it helps, it holds down economic development. And what we need to do is find ways to increase the distribution of power to lower the rate. First, we have to reduce theft. Second, we have to use electricity for things like electric automobiles and things like that. So those are top of my list. Then finally, this island has great ambitions to put renewables on its system. I have specific background in that, and I'm going to help the island achieve those objectives.
Yes. Steve, one of the things I was particularly taken with your presentation was your in-depth knowledge and the experience you bring from California. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. What I know from California is what's needed and what can be done, and all of those elements exist here. What we will have to do is attract a lot of capital to get this done. But the technology is mature, battery storage technology is mature, we can weave it all together. The key will be to weave it together in the most cost-effective way that we can. But I've seen firsthand the fifth largest economy, California, the fifth largest economy in the world, operate at 50% renewables and at as high as 90% on the grid.
Steve, I was particularly taken with a point you made about you were shocked when you came to Jamaica and you said the price was $300 and you said back at home for you it was $30. Can you go into that a little bit?
So in our markets, I know this gets a little bit down into the details of it, but you dispatch electricity the cheapest way you can. Okay. And the marginal cost then is that you dispatch it on which is the cheapest marginal cost. The cheapest marginal cost here, when you start getting higher demands, is over $300 a megawatt hour. In California, where I was, in a much larger system, the marginal costs were in the 30s of dollars. So the marginal cost of power here in Jamaica is very expensive, largely because of old power plants and imported fuel.
Steve, one of the big problems in Jamaica, and it's becoming a perennial problem, is electricity theft and damage to equipment. How do you see that, and what will you do to address that?
That's an excellent question. I think it is one of the biggest problems we have here on the island, and it actually drives up rates too. For two reasons. One is people who are paying for electricity are subsidizing those who are stealing it. Secondly, they do a lot of damage to the system. And for people who are paying for it and they have an outage because somebody's stealing, it is patently unfair. But I come from the perspective that everyone should have electricity. So going around taking away from the people is not only bad policy, but it's just wrong from an economic and social perspective. So I start from the fact that people need to get electricity. So we have to create a program for the people who cannot afford it to get electricity. For people who steal electricity and can afford it, we need to make sure that business case doesn't exist. We need to make sure that it costs more to steal than it does to regularize and pay. So starting with the fact that people need to get electricity. Then we also need to make sure homes are wired, and we need to have programs for wiring and other things like that. So it has to be a multi-step program. We have to find a way how we're going to pay for poor people. We have to go after people who are stealing, and we have to wire homes.
One of the problems in Jamaica is people complain about is that if you have to pay your bill, you're late on your bill, it gets cut off. And it's a bit of a problem to get it reconnected again. Given the fact that the income per capita is roughly about 5.3 thousand US dollars, how do you address that?
Well, I had already addressed how we're going to make sure we get power to people. Now, as far as people who can pay and haven't paid, they get disconnected. That's how utilities work worldwide. Now, what we need to do is when they come back and have taken care of their account, we need to be very effective and quick about putting them back on. So that's what I need to focus on, is make sure we can turn them on quickly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve.
My pleasure. Thank
I
you.
think you're going to be a good CEO.